My name is Brielle Sawyer, and I'm 28 years old. If you met my family at a glance, you'd probably assume my younger sister is the main character, and I'm background. She's the one with the big laugh and the perfect Instagram angles, the one who always lights up a room. I'm the one who stands near the snack table, refilling the guacamole when it runs low and making sure there are enough chairs. I'm quiet. I dress comfortably. I work in data analytics and actually like my spreadsheets. Apparently that translates to weird in some circles. Growing up, the narrative was simple. My sister Kayla, 2 years younger, was the pretty social one. I was the steady, responsible one. Our parents never meant to draw that line so sharply, but it was there, a permanent underline in every holiday, every school event, every milestone. When something went wrong, I fixed it. When something needed attention, Kayla got it. By 26, she had a fiancé, a huge diamond, and a Pinterest board that looked like a bridal magazine exploded. By 28, I had a stable job, a decent apartment, and a wardrobe heavy on cardigans. I was fine with that. We'd chosen different lanes. At least that's what I told myself. The night everything snapped was a Tuesday at 6:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I was stirring pasta in a pot, watching the bubbles rise. The window over my stove showed the last smear of sunset over the neighboring building. My phone, face down on the counter, buzzed once. I wiped my hand on a dish towel, flipped it over. Kayla, incoming call. I smiled, just a little. It was unusual. She usually called Mom first, then treated me like a backup character. Hey, I answered, tucking the phone between my shoulder and ear as I stirred. What's up, bride-to-be? There was no hello from her, no laugh, just, so, about the wedding, you're not invited. The spoon clinked against the pot. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. Sorry, I said. What? Kayla sighed like I was already exhausting her. You're not invited, Brielle. I turned off the burner. The kitchen went very quiet. Did something happen? I asked slowly. You okay? I'm fine, she snapped. Look, Jason and I talked, and he thinks you're kind of weird. And honestly, I agree. We want people who fit our vibe. You don't. So, yeah, not invited. There it was, no build-up, no softening, just years of implication, finally spoken plainly. You're uninviting me from your wedding, I repeated, just to hear it out loud. Your sister, because you both think I'm weird. It's my wedding, she said, voice brightening, like she'd found solid footing. My day, I get to choose who's there. I stared at the steam curling from the pot. In my chest, something small and tired just sat down. You're right, I said quietly. Your day, your choice. There was a beat of silence, like she hadn't expected me to agree. Exactly, she said, suddenly cheery. Glad you get it. Anyway, I have to go. We're meeting the DJ. And she hung up. I stood there in my tiny kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear even after the call ended. 10 seconds, maybe 15. The fan hummed, the pasta overcooked. I could feel my heart trying to catch up to what had just happened. I didn't cry, that came later. What I did was tap another contact. Dad. He picked up on the second ring. Hey, Brie, everything okay? I exhaled carefully. Did you know Kayla just uninvited me from her wedding? What? His voice sharpened. No. Why would she? Because Jason thinks I'm weird, I said, trying to keep my tone even. And she agrees. They want people who fit their vibe. Apparently I do not. There was a long silence. I pictured him in his recliner, glasses halfway down his nose, jaw clenched. The wedding we're paying $25,000 for? He said finally. Yeah, I replied, that one. Hold on, he muttered, and I could hear rustling. I'm calling your mother. A click, a beep, and Mom's voice joined in. What's going on? Dad didn't waste time. Your daughter just uninvited your other daughter from the wedding because she's weird. What? Mom's voice went from soft to steel in a heartbeat. No, absolutely not. Dad, stay on the line, I'm calling her. My stomach twisted as he pushed another button. A second later, Kayla answered, all bright and breathy. Hey, Dad! Did you uninvite your sister from your wedding? He asked, no preamble. There was a tiny pause. I could almost hear her brain scrambling. Yes, but... Why? Mom cut in. Kayla huffed. Because Jason and I talked, and we just feel like she doesn't fit the vibe. She's quiet, she dresses weird, she never talks to anyone at parties. It's our day. We want people who actually add to it, you know? I swallowed, my fingers tightening on the phone. Kayla, Dad said, voice low, either you invite your sister with a proper apology, or we pull our $25,000. You have until Friday to decide. Dad, we've already paid deposits, she protested, panic lacing the edge of her voice. The venue needs... Then you'd better decide fast, he said, and hung up. The call dropped back to just Mom, Dad, and me. Oh, honey, Mom said softly. I'm so sorry. I'm okay, I lied. It's clarifying. Dad made a sound that was half laugh, half growl. She's lost her mind. She thinks she can toss you aside like some +1 and still take our money? This is her pattern, I said quietly. She wants consequences without responsibility. And for the first time, I felt something else under the hurt. A tiny ember of anger that for once wasn't directed inward. After we hung up, my phone lit up like a slot machine. Kayla, you told Dad? You just ruined everything. This is my wedding and you ruined it. Hope you're happy, you selfish freak. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I typed, erased, typed again. Every response I drafted either sounded too defensive or too cruel. Finally, I settled on the truth. Me, your day, your choice. Their money, their choice. She didn't respond. Not for an hour. Then, you're seriously not going to fix this? Tell them you're fine not coming. You don't even like people. It shouldn't matter to you. I turned off my phone and set it face down on the counter. She was right about one thing. I don't like crowds. I don't like being the center of attention. But I do like being treated like a human being. I ate my lukewarm pasta in silence that night, the TV flickering in the background, not really seeing anything. Every few minutes, my phone buzzed again on the table. Calls, texts, then missed calls from an unknown number I suspected was Jason. I ignored them. By Thursday, the buzzing had gone from frantic to intermittent. My parents kept me updated. Kayla tried crying, screaming, bargaining. She claimed they were destroying her dream over nothing. Mom calmly repeated the same line. If my daughter isn't welcome at the wedding, my money isn't either. Friday afternoon at 3:34 p.m., Dad texted. She called. She's not backing down. We're out. I stared at the message for a long time. Somewhere, deep in my chest, something shifted. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't the one being asked to be the bigger person while everyone else looked away. For once, someone chose me. I didn't know it yet, but that choice was about to cost my sister far more than a venue and a menu. It was going to cost her the image she'd built her entire life on. And she was going to blame me for every last crack. By Saturday morning, the group chat felt like a live grenade sitting in my phone. Mom had renamed it months ago to Wedding Countdown, back when everything was excitement and Pinterest links. Now, every time the title popped up, it felt like a bad joke. The day of the bridal shower, she called me while I was pouring coffee. I'm not going, she said before I could even say hello. I leaned my hip against the counter. You don't have to skip it because of me, Mom. I'm not going to a party for a wedding that excludes my daughter, she said, voice firm in that way that reminded me she used to be a high school principal. If my child isn't welcome, then I'm not company. I'm just a wallet and a dress. That made me laugh, even as my chest tightened. Kayla's going to say you're being dramatic. She already has, Mom said dryly. She told me it's just for the wedding vibe, and I'm punishing her over nothing. And what did you say? I asked. I said if my daughter is nothing, she can find another mother, Mom replied. Then I hung up. For the first time in days, I smiled. After we hung up, I spent the afternoon doing nothing special. Laundry, dishes, the kind of mundane, grounding tasks that keep your brain from spinning itself into knots. Every so often, I'd glance at my phone, watching the little dots appear and disappear in the family chat as if someone was trying to start something and thinking better of it. It wasn't until early evening that my cousin Maddie texted me directly. Maddie, I'm at the shower. You want updates? I stared at the message for a beat. Part of me wanted to say no. The other part, the part that had spent its whole life watching from the sidelines, wanted to see what happened when I stopped playing along. Me, only if you want to. Don't get yourself in trouble. The dots appeared instantly. Maddie, oh, trouble's already here. Everyone's asking where Aunt Lisa, your mom, is. Kayla told them she's just being dramatic about some family stuff. Another pause, another ping. Maddie, one of the bridesmaids asked where you were. Kayla said you couldn't make it to the wedding, in general. I set my mug down a little harder than necessary. Me, did she say why? Maddie, nope. Just shrugged and moved on. So I told them the truth. I closed my eyes. Me, Maddie. Sorry, Bri, I tried to stay out of it. But I'm not going to sit there and let her rewrite reality. I told them you were uninvited because Jason thinks you're weird, and she agreed. 3 bridesmaids left, grabbed their purses and just left. I could almost see it. Kayla standing there with a mimosa, smile cracking like cheap plaster as people quietly gathered their things. Maddie. She's furious. You're about to see it online, I bet. Right on cue, a notification hit my screen. Kayla Sawyer at Kayla Gets Hitched had posted, "Real family shows up when it matters. Fake family creates drama and disappears when things don't go their way." My chest went cold. A second later, another notification. Aunt Miriam commented, "Real family doesn't uninvite siblings from weddings, sweetheart." I watched the screen refresh. The entire post vanished. Deleted within a minute. I don't know why, but that invisible line between the post existing and not existing felt like a crack in our family's foundation widening in real time. A few hours later, another message came, this time not from Kayla, but from Jason. An email. Subject, "This has gone too far." It was 8 paragraphs of righteous indignation. "Your parents are manipulative and toxic. This is financial abuse. You're clearly jealous of Kayla's happiness. You need to tell them you're fine not coming so they'll pay again. You're destroying something beautiful over your own insecurity." I read it once, twice. The words slid over me like oil over water. It was strange, realizing that someone who barely knew me had a fully written story about who I was in his head, and he was so confident in it, he was willing to put it in writing. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Dad instead. A minute later, he texted, "Dad, these kids are delusional. Don't respond. I'll handle it." For the next few days, it felt like there were 2 weddings happening. There was the one on paper, deposits, RSVPs, a countdown app on Kayla's phone, and the one inside our family, accusations, silence, group chat landmines. By Friday night, I had almost convinced myself the worst was over. Then, someone started pounding on my apartment door. I jumped, nearly spilling tea all over my couch. The pounding came again, harder this time. My walls were thin. Somewhere a dog started barking. I checked the peephole. Kayla. Her mascara was smeared, hair half fallen out of an elaborate style like she'd ripped out bobby pins in the car. Her eyes were wild in that way I remembered from childhood tantrums. Except now she wasn't 5, and the stakes weren't who got the last cookie. My stomach sank. I cracked the door, keeping the chain on. "What are you doing here, Kayla?" "Open the door," she snapped. "Now." "I'm not taking the chain off if you're going to yell at me in the hallway," I said quietly. "My neighbors don't need—" She slammed her palm against the door so hard I flinched. "Fix this." "Fix what?" "Tell Mom and Dad you overreacted," she hissed. "Tell them it was a misunderstanding, that you're fine not coming. Tell them to put the money back." My brain actually stalled for a second. "You uninvited me," I reminded her, "because your fiancé thinks I'm weird and you agree." Her mouth tightened. "He doesn't think you're weird anymore." "He barely knows me," I said, "and that's not the point." "Then why are you doing this?" she demanded, voice rising. "The venue called. They're canceling if we don't pay. The caterer wants their deposit finalized. The photographer quit because she heard we might not have the budget. Everything is falling apart because you ran crying to Daddy." "Then postpone," I said. "Save up, adjust." "We can't," she snapped. "His family is flying in. The invitations are sent. I have my dress. I have everything. You have to fix this." I let out a breath that felt like it had been trapped for 28 years. "This isn't my mess," I said. "You threw the match, Kayla. I just refused to burn quietly." Her eyes filled with tears. For a second, she looked almost like my kid sister again, the one who got stuck in trees and asked me to help her down. Then her face twisted. "Why are you doing this to me?" she shrieked. "You've always been jealous, always. That I'm prettier, that people like me, that I'm getting married first. You cannot stand that my life is finally working out, so you're sabotaging me." "Kayla, I didn't sabotage anything," I said, keeping my voice low and steady. "You chose to exclude me. Mom and Dad chose not to fund a wedding that treats their daughter like an embarrassment." Her voice jumped an octave. "When Mom and Dad die, I'm taking everything. You'll get nothing. I'll fight you for every penny. Enjoy being alone forever, freak." My neighbor's door clicked open across the hall. Mr. Green, mid-50s, t-shirt and sweatpants, peered out. "Ma'am," he said to Kayla, tone clipped, "if you don't leave in the next 30 seconds, I'm calling the cops." Kayla whipped around, scandalized. "This is a family matter." "Not in this building, it isn't," he said. "Last warning." For a heartbeat, I thought she was going to double down. Instead, she glared at me like all of this, every atom of it, was my fault, then spun on her heel and stomped down the hall. I watched her go, my hand still on the door. When I finally closed it, my phone buzzed. New text. "Kayla, You're dead to me. When they die, I'm keeping everything. Hope you die alone, loser. I stared at the words until they blurred. Then I took a screenshot. I opened the family group chat, still named Wedding Countdown, like a cruel joke, and dropped the image in. For a moment, nothing. Then Dad responded. Dad, Jesus Christ. A minute later, my phone rang. I answered on speaker, sitting down at my small kitchen table like I was about to take an exam. Mom's voice was tight. Brielle, are you okay? I'm fine, I said automatically. You're not fine, she said. That was vile. Dad cleared his throat. She's crossed a line she can't uncross. I hesitated. You know she doesn't mean the inheritance stuff. She just lashes out. Doesn't matter, Dad said. We're not talking about whether she means it. We're talking about what it reveals about her. Mom sighed. We wanted you to hear this from us. You know we made you executor, right? I blinked. What? The estate, Dad said. When we're gone, everything is split 50-50, but you're the executor. Because you're level-headed, you're fair, you think before you speak. Your sister has just given us a very painful reminder of why we made that choice. You told her that? I asked. We just did, Mom said. She asked if we made you executor because you're the perfect daughter who gets everything. Your father told her we made you executor because we trust you, and that right now she's proving exactly why we can't trust her. What did she say? I asked softly. She screamed that she hates us all and hung up, Mom replied, voice trembling with anger and grief. My chest ached. I'm sorry. Don't you dare apologize, Dad said. You didn't do this. She did, and she's going to keep doing it until life stops cushioning the fall. The next day, my phone lit up with Dad's name again. Jason called me, he said, not bothering with hello. What did he want? I asked, though I could guess. To negotiate, Dad said dryly. He asked if we'd consider just paying for the venue, said we were punishing their love, and that this was emotional extortion. And you said, the terms haven't changed, he replied. Invite you properly, apologize sincerely, or fund it themselves. He called it financial abuse. I called it consequences. I exhaled slowly. Brielle, Dad added after a moment, his voice softening. I know this is ugly. I know it hurts. But I want you to hear me clearly. You have done nothing wrong by expecting basic respect. Nothing. I swallowed around the lump in my throat. Okay. As I hung up, a thought settled over me like a heavy, oddly comforting blanket. For the first time in our lives, my parents weren't asking me to twist myself into something more palatable for Kayla. They were asking Kayla to grow up. She wasn't going to like the cost. 2 weeks before the wedding, an envelope showed up in my mailbox like nothing had ever happened. Thick cream cardstock, rose gold lettering, the kind of thing that screams classy, even when everything behind it is chaos. I stood in my hallway, keys still in one hand, staring at the calligraphy of my own name. Ms. Brielle Sawyer. I already knew what it was. Still, I slid it open with my thumb. You are cordially invited. Date, time, location. No note, no text, no, I'm sorry. Just the assumption that if a piece of paper said I was invited, everything else magically reset. I took a photo and sent it to my dad. Me, got this. He replied almost immediately. Dad, nope, that's not an apology. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Kayla. I stared at the screen for a long second, then answered. Hi. I sent your invitation, she said briskly, as if we were talking about a package delivery. So tell Mom and Dad it's resolved. They can send the money now. I closed my eyes. Kayla, this isn't resolved. You're invited, she snapped. What more do you want? I want you to actually be sorry, I said quietly, not just desperate. She scoffed. Oh my God, you're impossible. I uninvited you. I sent you a real invitation. I'm trying here. No, I said. You're trying to get the money. Those are not the same thing. There was a crackle of static as she inhaled sharply. Do you know how much we've had to downgrade? She demanded. The venue, the food, everything. My dress is literally the only nice thing left, and I had to put it on 3 credit cards. 3. You have no idea what this has done to us. Whose choice was that? I asked softly. Yours, she exploded. If you hadn't run to Mom and Dad. I told them the truth when they asked, I cut in. That's it. She let out a bitter laugh. You're unbelievable. You know what? Don't come. I don't want you there. You'd probably ruin everything with your weirdness anyway. There it is, I said quietly. What? She snapped. You don't want me there. You want their money. There was a beat of silence on the line. Of course I want the money, she burst out. Do you know how embarrassing it is to downgrade everything because my parents are being petty over you? I didn't answer. Forget it, she said finally. Just forget it. She hung up. I stared at my reflection in the dark TV screen across the room. My face looked oddly calm. If anything, I felt relieved. I blocked her number. The wedding was on a Saturday. I wasn't there. Of course I wasn't. But in the age of smartphones and cousins with no filter, I may as well have had front row seats. Maddie started texting me that afternoon. Maddie, okay, I know you didn't want a play-by-play, but you kind of need to know this. My stomach tightened. Me, is everyone okay? Maddie, depends how you define okay. Venue is a community center. Very beige. They hung fairy lights, but it still looks like a PTA fundraiser. I could almost see it. The way Kayla used to dream about a vineyard or a chic hotel ballroom, replaced with multi-purpose room carpet and stackable chairs. Maddie, no plated dinner, just heavy apps and a cash bar. DJ is someone's laptop with Spotify. Also, photographer is her friend with an iPhone. Me. Ouch! Maddie, half the guests didn't show. A lot of Jason's extended family couldn't make it last minute. The vibe is tense. I sat on my couch, my phone a small glowing window into the disaster my sister swore I'd caused. Maddie went quiet for a bit. I assumed she was balancing tiny quiches and plastic champagne flutes. Then, Maddie, oh no, oh no. Me, what? Maddie, Jason's mom's friend, I think her name is Mila, just asked Kayla loudly why your parents didn't contribute, like in front of a whole table. I could feel my heart picking up speed. Me, and? Maddie. Kayla tried to brush it off. They just didn't feel like it. Then someone, I don't know who, said, no. Isn't it because she uninvited her sister? I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Maddie. Mila looks horrified. She just said her nephew has autism and people call him weird all the time. She's asking why Kayla would do that. Kayla's floundering. Jason looks like he wants to melt into the floor. I pictured a woman about my parents' age, frowning in a beige community center room, while my sister's perfect narrative unraveled in front of everyone. Maddie. Jason's mom looks... Brielle, she looks furious. This is really bad. She's pulled Kayla aside. People are pretending not to stare. 10 minutes crawled by. My phone stayed stubbornly blank. Then, Maddie. Okay, your sister just left the reception. She's crying in the parking lot. Jason is inside, apologizing to everyone, saying she's overwhelmed. This is a disaster. I'm leaving. It's too awkward. I put my phone down. In my chest, there was no satisfaction. No triumphant, serves her right. Just a hollow ache and the slow realization that the story she'd tried to write about me, quiet, weird, disposable, had finally turned on her. Sunday morning, a text came from an unknown number. Unknown, hope you're happy. You ruined my wedding. Jason's family thinks I'm horrible. His mom cornered me and said, family should always come first. That I should be ashamed. This is your fault. I stared at the message, thumb hovering over the screen. Then I locked my phone and went to make coffee. I didn't respond. Later that day, Dad called. Jason's parents called us, he said. Wanted our side of the story. I sat down at my kitchen table. What did you tell them? The truth, he said. That their son and our daughter decided you were too weird for their wedding, that they tried to keep you off the guest list while taking our money, that we refused. How did they take it? I asked. Dad exhaled. They were furious. With her, with him. Apparently Jason has a cousin with autism. Quiet, dresses differently, people call him weird. They are very protective of him. Hearing their son use the same word about you was not received well. I rubbed my temple. Wow. They asked why we didn't tell them earlier, Dad went on. Your mother said we assumed our daughter would handle it like an adult, that we learned otherwise the hard way. A strange, sad warmth spread through me. And now? And now, Dad said, she's not just dealing with our disappointment. She's dealing with her in-laws' judgment. The fallout is hers, Brielle, not yours. He hesitated. There's something else we want to talk to you about. Your mom's on the line, too. A soft click, then Mom's voice. Hi, baby. Hey, I said. What's going on? We've been thinking about that $25,000, she said. The wedding money. A knot formed in my stomach. You don't have to explain. We're not explaining, she said gently. We're reassigning. I blinked. What? We're putting it in a trust for you, Dad said. For a house, grad school, whatever you need toward your future. It's yours. I went very still. You don't have to do that, I murmured. I don't want to feel like I'm benefiting from this. Mom's voice softened. Sweetheart, listen to me. You didn't ask for any of this. You didn't demand we pick a side. You told us what happened, and you accepted our decision without gloating, without pushing. You've handled this with more grace than we could have expected." Dad cleared his throat. "We want something good to come out of this mess. We'd rather invest in the child who isn't using love as a bargaining chip." Tears stung my eyes. I blinked them away, staring at the little water ring on my table from my mug. "I don't know what to say," I admitted. "Say you'll let us do this," Mom replied. "Say you'll let us show you that we see you." My throat tightened. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll let you." "We're going to add to it when we can," Dad added. "Your mom's already talking about throwing in a little extra." "Don't tease her," Mom snorted. "I already transferred 10 more. I let out a wet laugh. "You two are unbelievable." "In a good way, I hope," Dad said. "The best way," I answered. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. For most of my life, love in our family had felt like something scarce that we had to scramble for. Kayla scrambled loud. I scrambled quiet. Somehow she always seemed to get more. Now, for the first time, the scales felt like they were tipping in my direction. Not because I shouted louder, but because I finally refused to shrink. A week later, Dad called again. "We met with the lawyer," he said, "about the will." My stomach dropped. "Dad." "Don't panic," he cut in. "We're not dying anytime soon. Your mother won't let me." In the background, Mom muttered, "Correct." I huffed out a laugh despite myself. "We are updating the terms," he continued. "We're leaving Kayla the legal minimum required by state law. Everything else goes to you." I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. That's a lot, Dad." "I'm heartbroken that it's come to this," he said quietly. "But she's done this to herself. We are not rewarding cruelty. We're not handing our life's work to someone who thinks of family as disposable." Mom spoke up. "She's already texting about contesting the will when we die. Your cousin says every nasty message just makes her job easier if it comes to that." "I don't want a war," I whispered. "I just wanted my sister to treat me like a person." "I know," Mom said. "But some people don't change until life stops cushioning the blow. And even then, some never do." I wiped my eyes with the heel of my hand. "What if she never forgives me?" There was a pause. "Brielle," Dad said gently, "she should be asking, what if you never forgive her?" I had no answer for that. I still don't. All I knew, sitting at my kitchen table with my phone cooling in my hand, was this. The price of her cruelty was getting higher, and for the first time, the bill wasn't being handed to me. In the week after the wedding, the storm didn't calm. It just changed shape. Instead of explosions, it was aftershocks. Quieter, sharper, and somehow even more revealing. I learned from Dad that Jason's family had begun doing something Kayla wasn't prepared for. They were asking questions. Real ones. Pointed ones. The kind that can't be dodged with a fake smile or a shaky excuse. "What exactly did your sister do?" "Why did your parents pull funding? And what did you mean by weird?" The more she tried to twist the story, the more tangled she became. By Tuesday, Dad said her mother-in-law had called my parents directly. Apparently, she wanted the full truth. They gave it to her. Every word. According to Dad, she went silent for a long time and then apologized to them. Not to Kayla, to my parents. And somehow, that hurt even more than Kayla's threats had. Because it proved the one thing I'd always known deep down. She only apologized when she wanted something. Everyone else apologized when they understood something. On Wednesday afternoon, Mom called. "Your sister came over," she said, voice tight. "Oh," I said, bracing. "How did that go?" "She was hysterical," Mom said, crying about how Jason's family hates her now, how his mother keeps making comments about family values and character, how this is all your fault. I closed my eyes. "What did you say?" "That she made her bed," Mom replied coolly. "And?" "She screamed at me," Mom continued, "called me a horrible mother, said I was choosing you over her." Dad's voice cut into the background, firm even from a distance. "She threw her spare key at me, hit me in the chest." My heart dropped. "Is he okay?" "Physically, I'm fine," he said. "Emotionally, I think that was the last straw." Mom sighed. "Your father told her to leave or he'd call the police." "And did she?" I whispered. "Eventually," Mom said. She peeled out of the driveway like it was a racetrack. A numbness washed over me. Not surprise, not fear. Just exhaustion. The kind that comes from realizing someone you love has no brakes left. Then she showed up at my job. Friday morning, halfway through a data audit, I got a call from security. "There's a woman in the lobby asking for you," the guard said. "Says she's your sister." I closed my eyes. "Is she crying?" Yes, loudly." I inhaled slowly. "Tell her I'm not available." "She says she'll wait," he added apologetically. "Tell her if she's still there in 10 minutes, you're authorized to call the police for trespassing." There was silence on the line. Will do.
8 minutes later, she left. That afternoon, she emailed me.
Subject line, I'm sorry.
The message was long, dramatic, full of phrases like, everything is falling apart, and Jason's family won't stop judging me, and I need you to help me fix this.
3 sentences in, I knew. She wasn't sorry. She was drowning.
And she wanted me to be the life raft.
I read the whole thing, then typed back. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry for the consequences. Those are different things. Leave me alone. She replied within minutes. You're right. I'm not sorry. You are weird. You've always been weird. The mistake was thinking you'd go away quietly. Enjoy the attention while you can. There it was. The truth she'd been dressing in lace and excuses for years. I screenshotted it, saved it, and forwarded it to Mom, Dad, and my lawyer cousin. My cousin replied first. She is making this so easy. Keep everything. Saturday night, 11:43 p.m., my phone rang. Brielle? A hesitant male voice. Jason. I said nothing.
My mother wants to meet you, he said. To apologize. We both do.
I blinked. Why now?
Because we... He exhaled shakily. Because we didn't understand. We judged you without ever knowing you. And now it's blown up in our faces. We were wrong.
I didn't rush to make it easier. What made you change your mind? I finally asked.
My cousin, he said quietly. My mom reminded me how I always defended him. People called him weird, standoffish, different, and I was furious on his behalf.
He swallowed hard. And then I realized I was doing the same thing to you. There was a long silence.
Then I said, okay, I'll meet her. Sunday afternoon, we met at a small cafe downtown.
His mother arrived early, hands folded neatly, eyes full of something that looked a lot like remorse.
Thank you for coming, she said softly when I sat down. I wanted to apologize to you in person. She didn't sugarcoat it, didn't blame stress, didn't say but.
I failed to teach my son better, she said,
and I failed to ask questions when your parents pulled funding. I assumed it was drama. That was wrong. You paid the price for our assumptions.
Jason looked exhausted, but sincere. I'm ashamed, he said.
I should have never judged you. I let Kayla convince me you wouldn't care, that you were used to being excluded.
I stared at him for a long moment.
Did you believe that? I asked.
He swallowed. I was an idiot.
His mother nodded. We're not asking for anything in return. We just wanted you to know we see the harm that was done, and we're sorry.
For the first time in weeks, something inside me cracked. Not from pain, but from release. I nodded. Thank you. I accept the apology.
We talked for nearly an hour.
About family. About difference. About the ways people fail each other quietly, long before the loud failures begin. When we finally stood up, his mother hugged me gently.
You deserve better, she said. I'm sorry you didn't get it.
And I believed her.
Kayla's world keeps shrinking. According to Jason, his mother told Kayla,
either you apologize to your sister properly, or you're not welcome at Thanksgiving. Kayla's answer? She's not family anymore. Why are you choosing her over me? Jason's mother responded, I'm not choosing her. I'm choosing what's right.
Kayla stormed out and hasn't spoken to her since. Her marriage, Jason admitted, is barely 6 weeks in, and already in counseling. Everything's falling apart, he said, voice cracking. She's drowning me with her denial.
I didn't know what to say to that. I still don't. As for me, life moved. Quietly, gently, in a way I didn't expect after all that wreckage.
I started seeing someone, a guy I met in a bookstore of all places. A teacher named Caleb who loves bad movies and dog-earing paperback corners.
When I told him the wedding story, he didn't gasp or call it wild. He shook his head slowly and said, That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're literally just a person existing. I laughed, really laughed.
Because he meant it.
The final message. A week later, a new number texted me. Kayla, you win. Happy you destroyed my wedding, my marriage, and my life. I hope it was worth it. I stared at the message calmly. And for the first time, I realized something profound. I hadn't won. I'd walked away. That's all. And sometimes walking away is the only victory worth having. Because parents who love you, family who chooses you, people who apologize without being cornered, a partner who sees you, not your noise level, not your outfit, not your quirks, but you. Those things mean more than a wedding with a cash bar and a crumbling marriage ever could. Kayla wanted a perfect day. I wanted basic respect. She got a community center and consequences. I got clarity.
And sometimes clarity is worth more than anything you thought you wanted.